Strike a Chord, music chit-chat with your host, Valentino Kikowski. Welcome to the Strike a Chord Podcast. On this episode, we have Mark Gardner, who is a singer-songwriter and a multi-instrumentalist. Now, we did have some technical issues with the podcast in the first few minutes, so apologies in advance, but it's a great podcast episode nonetheless. We start this episode with Mark telling us a bit about him taking on his first instrument, the piano. A big thank you to my guest Mark Gardner for a quite enjoyable episode, and I hope you guys enjoy it as well. Yeah, so Mark, the piano.
Yeah, took up piano and played quite a bit since 8 years old, I guess, and learnt a lot of music theory, I guess, and all the the rudiments of music, if you like.
Yep.
And then I hit high school, and I wanted to sing, number one, and number two, I wanted to take up another instrument. It was actually going to be saxophone.
Oh, great!
And believe it or not, and the last one got hired out to a nice looking lady, actually.
Okay.
And at the time, I thought, oh no, I've got to give it to her. So I thought, well, the next best thing was trumpet. So I ended up taking up trumpet because brass is used in a lot of different forms of music, being jazz, Latin music, and also other forms of rock. And I used to love it. And I think Blues Brothers, I was taken back by seeing Blues Brothers at a scout camp, believe it or not.
Okay.
And I was probably 12 or 13 or something, and that's what really got me into playing the trumpet, I think. That movie, I think, changed my life.
Okay.
Shake Your Tail Feather. I used to love that brass line in that, that and
definitely know that one. Definitely know that one.
I guess too, at a young age, I got into the likes of Hunters and Collectors in Chicago.
Yep.
Used to have Chicago playing on the radio a lot as a kid,
Okay.
and a lot of soul music I grew up with as well. And Dad used to put on. We used to have radio nights with Dad, and he used to put on records, and I used to play John Denver. Yeah, okay, John Denver. Yeah, but that's what sort of got me into country and guitar as well. So
I think too. Sorry, you've got a really broad range of different genres in your music. That's what I've noticed. You got a little bit of pop, country, indie rock.
Yes, yeah,
it's great. It's very it's all in there,
Yeah, it's eclectic. I call it an eclectic sort of genre, if you like, because it is a mix. And you're right in what you're saying, because I think I don't like to sort of be categorized into one genre, but I think it's important to write different styles too. As a musician or an artist, if you're writing songs, it's always good to try different things. I think when I started singing, I always came up. When I started writing songs, I think I came up with the hooks and things first, the choruses quite easily in melody. So I think that's where that sort of came from. I think in the end, when you're saying
the influences in your head,
different
and
influences,
in your soul.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Stevie Wonder was probably a massive influence as well.
Okay.
Growing up, and the likes of the pop idols, at the time, Michael Jackson, or Bruce Springsteen, all those sort of guys, and In Excess, a massive fan.
I think we're showing our age there now a little bit. That's our
Yeah,
generation.
but I think because I started playing trumpet in concert bands and school bands and brass bands, I was sort of taught at probably a pretty young age. I had my ears right on brass. It was going to be the way I was going to go. I thought, I actually did quite well playing trumpet through school and played in a lot of school bands and won a lot of awards, actually, a lot of school awards through playing for community bands and things. I won my most improved player when I was 14 in the local brass band. I was only 14, and I went away to the Tanunda brass competition in Tanunda, and I was pretty young. So, and it was good to be playing in a brass band as well, local community brass band, the Croydon brass band, that is, and that was gave me a really good boost for playing. And I played in the Ringwood Festival Orchestra as well, pretty young age. Actually played alongside the lead violinist of the Bolshoi Orchestra. She ended up going.
Really?
Yeah, Joanne Warwick. She ended up playing in the Bolshoi Orchestra, so that was pretty fascinating to know that. And we had some pretty good musicians in that orchestra, actually, and a lot of them have gone on. And even my school band, like the concert band, there was a lot of musicians that went on. You might know of Sharon Kempton. She won a big opera award in Melbourne, in Victoria. Would have been in the early 2000s.
Okay.
She's a massive opera singer in Europe at the moment, and we went to the same college, same high school. We were in the same concert band, so it's really cool to share that.
Always is you've got that 1 degree of separation with other successful musicians,
Yeah, I mean Wally Kempton from the Meanies, Wally from the
Yeah.
Meanies. He went to the same school, and yeah, there's lots of different people, and yeah, it's quite interesting, sort of quite eclectic, sort of a little bit,
Yeah, and that
in
helps
a
with your
way.
development, right? From a young age, it
Yeah,
helps development. It helps, especially being in the brass. It's a different ball game, right?
well, music's a really music's an expression, but it's also a form of communication, and people
Mm,
forget that. And
yeah,
if you can
yeah,
set the mood for the moment, that's even better. If you can set the mood to improve the moment, that's got to be a plus. So
of course.
my thoughts are always, we want to improve the moment if something's happened, let's
Good
try
thought
and
to have.
improve the moment. And
Sure.
it's always good to be bit of a positive impact rather than the negative impact.
Yeah,
But
always.
look, I love it. I just get a real kick out of writing a song and then playing back to others, and people start singing it. That's even better when they sing it back to you. And I guess the earliest songs that I wrote for the Great Divide EP at the
Hmm.
time, I mean, the Great Divide song was written when I was 16, and
Okay.
I demoed that. That was the demo that I did
Oh, that was a demo, was it?
initially. Yeah, and it was an 8-track reel to reel. I've still got that demo of it.
Of
I'll
course, you want
I'll
to
have
keep
to.
all that stuff, mate.
Yeah, I've still got it. And the then I went back and recorded it later on, but yeah, about 20 years later on. But
Mm.
anyway, but that was really really good fun when I recorded that. I guess too, I came up with some different hooks. It was a bass. There was a bass drum, bum bum bum. I really wanted to concentrate like the heartbeat of a
Okay.
country, so I thought
Yeah.
that'll be the
Yeah.
heartbeat. And then just came up with that sort of the folk sort of
Mm.
feeling of the G to E minor sort of structure, which was pretty much the verse, and then it was just the bass line really done, and then it went to G, F sharp, E sort of thing. Then then it went straight into a chorus, which was slightly different to the norm. And I thought, well, I'll try a few different things. Sort of gave it a bit of a rock feel in the chorus, but it was probably more folk country, that song.
Mm.
And I
I
never
I
really
get that
thought of
sense
it.
as well when I
I
heard it.
never really thought of it, but people thought, oh, it sounds quite indigenous and quite, and I thought I'll add the didgeridoo onto the recording later, and actually it was recorded at Highway 9 Productions in Croydon, and then
Okay.
just up the road from where I originally recorded it, and then I actually got it remixed by Brian Cannon from Shadow Echo. Had a really
Really?
yeah, I had a really different
Okay.
approach to the first EP. I really wanted to put something really nice and chunky together.
Yeah.
Because I'd played in previous bands, like I played in a band called Bricks and Mortar. That was my first band, and I probably learnt a lot of my songwriting through that band, being a sort of a punk ska
Yeah.
reggae. We played all sorts of genres in that band. It was sort of rock, and it was a band that we set up a rehearsal studio, we set up a recording studio there, and we just learnt the whole process from reel to reel to ADAT to, back when you
Hate
had
that.
you
Jeez.
mastered to a DAT,
Onto that, yeah, I've had that. Yeah,
yeah,
I used to have that
yeah.
all that gear
Yeah,
back
yeah,
in the
yeah.
day,
No, we had all the gear back in the day,
and
and,
that was the
and
thing, digital.
it
Oh, I
was,
hate
it
that. Oh, I've
was,
got it on that. No more reel to reel. You don't splicing and all that. Nah, none of that.
and it
But
was
that
actually, yeah, it was actually really quite costly too. This
it
gear, and
was,
and
it
and
was. I
I remember
remember.
going to Metropolis. We
Yeah,
had a recording of
Metropolis.
I think the only one actually, it was a which is on the current album. Actually, the only one we did a version of that, and we just weren't happy with it in the end. But it sounded, to me, it sounds pretty good. But for some reason, the drums we didn't seem to record that well or something. I don't know. But
It was a
we learnt a lot from it. So that
yeah,
was the main
different
thing.
platform, different sound. Your ears, I think back then, digital was something like, it was like 3D for your ears. It's like you're not used to it, It's like, it was like, what's happening here? Like, I know because I had all that. I had the ADAT, I had the that, I spent a lot of money, back then. And it was like, it was a weird experience because you're listening through things that are right in your face. You think, oh, okay,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I actually remember recording on a 4-track cassette,
on a
as
Tascam.
well. Tascam, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I
That's
had
what I
one too.
started recording my
Yeah,
songs on
yeah,
initially.
yeah,
I'd put down a rhythm part, then I put down a vocal, or
yeah.
do both at
And
once,
then
and
you
then
used to
I'll
bounce the tracks to,
yeah. Uh,
yeah,
And that
yeah,
was quite an interesting process, and that sort of got me into the whole process of
of
writing
recording.
songs and recording. And then I I probably didn't stop from there. I mean, a lot of people just stop, their first band. So I kept going, and I mean, I had 20 songs or I think I wrote about a dozen by then, or 10 anyway.
Gee, that's a fair effort, Mark. That's
which I think I was about 20 or 19, and I had about, I think I had about probably 12 songs.
Jeez,
Look,
that's
a couple
good.
of them. Couple of them were pretty cheesy, and a lot of them weren't. Well, a couple of them I didn't even record. I just put them on a cassette, and I left them for some time. And one of them was The House of Love, and
Okay.
and I was just going through the whole archive of recordings that I had at the time. I thought, oh, maybe I'll reinvent this song, and I had snippets of how it should go and all that anyway. So I wrote the verse chorus, but I thought I'll improve it when I picked it up and recorded it for the first EP. It was great fun because I was able to work out, have that hook, that na 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 na, which was which I ended up making a brass hook on the first EP, which it was probably a mistake in a sense. I probably should have had that as a singing, because every time I pull that song out, I get the crowd singing that theme.
But at that time, it sounds brassy. And this is the thing with brass. It can sound like a vocal. It can sound singing, as you said. It sounds like it's like brass, but it can be done as a vocal, or sometimes even a backup vocal, like 3 or 4 singers can probably do it.
Well, that's right. I thought I'll throw the trumpet on there and the euphonium. I put the because I took up the euphonium in the brass band, which it really it's the same fingering as a trumpet, but it's just a really low end.
Yeah,
it's a bass instrument pretty much,
correct.
But it's sort of in between. Like, so I played baritone, so it was an instrument that was probably more of my vocal lower range.
Okay,
as in a developing style, but it's tuned my ears into more the bass frequencies of brass, and I never really had that experience at a young age until later. So
and that's very important.
I think it is, and it was really important. I think so, and it sort of opened my ears a lot more. And I think it's really important, if you are a musician or an artist, that you try different instruments, because you tune into different sounds. And this is one of the things I keep trying to challenge myself on. I mean, I'm trying to learn this mandolin that's behind me at the moment.
Oh, really? Cool.
You probably see it there. There
it
is. So it's awesome. It's a great little instrument, but it's slightly different fingering. But you can change the fingering too. You can change it to, you can change the tuning to suit guitar or whatever you want, really. So
I like the mandola, which is the I think it's the bigger version. I think it's a tenor version or something. It's actually big, and it's actually a deeper sound. But look, it's a great instrument, but it's always that challenge, of A, having the time to get stuck into it, and B, having the patience.
That's it. And I think too, networking. I think too, if you get that whole network around you supporting you with what you want to achieve as well as an artist,
so important.
I think it all absolutely, and it all helps. And I think if you try and be someone you're not, well, that's a different story too. Because
that's your own character, right? That's beyond music.
And I think it was great to bring the brass out. I mean, that's pretty much what I'm about, a pretty brassy sort of character. So, I mean, there was lots of other songs that I wrote at the time. There was a song on the first EP too called Rain on My Parade, which was initially a song about the Sydney Olympics, which I called Sydney 2000. And many years ago, and I changed that to Rain on My Parade because I thought I needed a better theme, and I thought it might be a bit stronger with the trumpet and brass, because I made it really brassy and it's a quite hooky sort of song, very funky sort of song. So, and that's sort of give it that funky sort of edge and that sort of indie appeal, if you like, at the time. So that was fun, and what Brian did to it was amazing. Like, it just gave all those songs on that first EP gave it another lift, and there's another song which I was sort of taken back, and still am in a little way, because Hearts on Fire, for instance, still gets played quite a lot around community radio stations to this day, and even overseas. More recently in the UK, in Ferndale.
Okay.
It sort of gets picked up quite a lot around the world. So Hearts on Fire.
Isn't that a great feeling when your song's being played not only locally, but it's being played outside of your geological sort of circumference,
Oh, look, I'm happy if it's played in Tasmania, to be quite honest, or WA or Queensland. But
sometimes I'm happy if my family plays it, let alone anything else of my songs, So, but
But it's funny. it's funny though when you're writing songs, you don't think. Well, I don't think they're going to be hit songs. I just write them, So I don't really. And then people say, "Oh, that's a really good song." It's like,
Yeah.
well, it was a song, and I just write to express myself really, and it's just an outlet that I enjoy doing. I mean, I travel a lot for work at the time, and I tend to write a lot of poetry and lyrics and things like that. So, and a lot of the songs that I've probably more recently released have probably been from those days too, where I was sort of in between jobs and I'd write stuff, or I'd be on the road or whatever, or and sometimes when you got a bit of solitude, you tend to be quite powerful. You don't realize it, but you tend to be quite powerful in your writing, and those experiences, the personal experiences you go through as well. Like I mean, I've gone through quite a bit as an individual. I've sort of went through a case where there was a personal house fire tragedy when
Oh, really?
for my 21st birthday present was coming home to a fire. It wasn't the
Jeez,
best thing in the
really?
world. Yeah,
Far
so it sort
out.
of changed my perspective on life, and I started writing a bit more. And I guess that's where Hearts on Fire, sort of the title came from.
Jeez.
I mean, initially that was called Love's on Fire, because I was in love with this other girl at the time, had him a girlfriend, and she wasn't sure what she wanted and that sort of stuff. It's like you go through the whole teenage thing and you try and get some perspective. But I mean, that was a growth period and probably a character building for me. And I kept writing songs even though I lost most, piano and lost a lot of other
Jeez.
things. I was
Jeez.
able to rebuild from there and
Far out.
grow, and from that, there's other things that came up. There was also the case of going, between, you know, you're working for this really major corporate company to a smaller company to another, So I was,
So those transitions.
I had a lot of job changes, to be quite honest, and
Mm,
I had a really bad car accident on my second job after,
jeez.
was quite a bad fall I had, and so it was a case of getting back on your knees. So I mean, I recovered from that really well, and music has been to be quite honest, been my counsel, as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
hasn't
having
it for all of us?
close family and friends, you got to have that support around you.
Oh,
Like I keep
definitely.
saying it, and
Definitely. Definitely.
I
And
think a lot of
we're,
the songs
we're
come
very
from
lucky
that.
to have those people. Sorry, we're very lucky if
Yeah,
we're
you're
very
right.
lucky to have those people. Some people don't have it, you know?
Yeah, well, you can go the other way. You could be rebellious and go stuff it, or just
Yeah.
give up. A
Yeah.
lot of people just give up.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not about that. I keep going
Mm,
forward, and I've probably experienced probably some different things to what other people have experienced in life.
mm.
But I'm a better person for it, and I've learnt to accept a lot of things now, and just go, well, hang on, this is what I'm about. This is what I do. Being true to myself more and more, and not just being okay, not a yes man sort of thing.
Yeah.
I think we can step into going and agreeing and being complacent too about
Yeah.
things,
Yeah.
too much so, and I've noticed that more and more through growing up. But I'm here, and I'm still writing, and I love it. I don't think I'd ever give it up. You'd
And
have
you
to chop my
shouldn't.
arms off, I think.
You shouldn't. I mean, I think music is a very powerful thing. I think music has
Yeah,
the ability to put you in places where you've been once before in your mindset,
absolutely. Yeah,
and then it's got the power to actually put you in different in a totally different world. Like especially if you're like yourself, you're doing different genres and you're experimenting with this and with that,
yeah, yeah,
and that's
yeah.
where some of the that satisfaction, the satisfying thing comes through. When you've
Absolutely.
crossed that, that thing or that bridge where all right, look, musically, this is where I was. It was neither here nor there, but you've figured out something else musically, and you think, oh, geez, I've just crossed the line, and how good does that feel, And if we can do that
Oh,
with life, that would be awesome,
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And look, nothing will stop me. I'm pretty unstoppable these days.
It's good to
I
hear
guess
because
I guess being what we've gone through with COVID the last 2 years.
sure, yeah,
I mean, I was able to release quite a bit of stuff, as well. So I
Yeah.
released over that period. I mean, going back to the Great Divide EP, I expanded that to an album in 2018, which I released the Great Divide EP in 2010. Mind you, Hearts on Fire, one of the songs got on the Absolute Country compilation, which was the Great Divide.
Gee, that's
and
good.
also Hearts on Fire was added to the Music Mayhem compilation CD, which raised funds for the Project Brain Drain. Over 14,000 was raised with that.
Geez, that's good.
And also off the EP, I had a lot of response, and community radio got right behind it. I was number one, the most downloaded song with the Great Divide in May 2010.
That's great.
No, sorry, 2011. Sorry, and it was just a massive download, and across Australia, it just went to number one. And
just goes to show communities are powerful when they want to work together, right?
Absolutely, and I think community radio is really, really beneficial for artists in the country, jazz, other
I
genres.
agree. Because mainstream's not going to do much, right?
Yeah, well, look, I think it does, but it's a case of it's stepping stones, and you've got to be realistic about your career. And if you really want to sustain a career, you've got to be able to write lots of songs, and one of them will stand out. And it just takes time,
Yeah.
And I mean, I go through such a mountain hill of songs that I throw that out, throw that out, and then I go, oh, hang on, there's a bit there that I like, and that'll go well with that other song that I wrote. So sometimes songs come out of three, and look, the last 3 years have probably been the most productive years in my life, because I've been able to, I put out an EP that I found, a whole heap of instrumentals that I put on a 4-track Boss, BR8 that I had years ago, and I've got a Boss BR16, so I used to put down instrumentals, so here and there. So I put an instrumental album out, and that was, Reflections and Moments, so I released that. Okay, it didn't get much radio play. I didn't promote it much, because honest, I just put it out there.
But was that more of a personal thing to do an instrumental? Was that more of a personal sort of,
it was. Yeah, it was.
Goal?
It was probably a case I had a few instrumentals that I hadn't recorded properly, and I thought I'll mix them and I'll do a bit of production work. So I was able to do that during the COVID period. I was in between jobs. And then there was another album that I put together, I recorded completely at home, and I added a couple of sort of recordings that I did at Sean O'Sullivan, which was sort of a hint to the new album, some of the songs, and I thought I'll release that, and that was Let's Be Released, because we were out of lockdown 1, I think it was, or lockdown 2, and then lockdown 2. So I called it lockdown. So I called it lockdown 2. Let's Be Released, in brackets lockdown 2, and I thought, well, I'll record that, and it came out really well. I was actually, Autumnal Trumpet ended up being on the new EP that I released, which was State of Emergency EP.
Okay.
Which included 4 tracks off the current new album, United We Stand. So that was a really good time, because I recorded quite a bit at Highway 9 just before COVID hit, really, with 3 of us, 3 or 4 of us in the band, and then I generally brought the rest of the band in to overdub that in between the lockdowns. I think it was between lockdown 2 and 3. I brought a whole heap of local artists together, because I thought, well, it's the title of the album is called United We Stand, so it was sort of the opposite to the Great Divide. So I thought, well,
it seems fitting.
United We Stand was pretty much about the musicians. Let's get back together and play, and they did. They recorded really well. I was actually quite taken back by how well it came up. I mean, 13 musicians on it, so it was really quite a production number, and it took some time to do that in between. So Sean really worked his wonders as well with that. Sean O'Sullivan's worked with Joshua Batten and Mike Elrington. You may know those two blues artists, but he's been very, very supportive as well, and I was able to get all that done during that period. So I was able to even get it mastered through Tony Jack the Bear Deluxe Mastering as well. He's been such a supporter over the years as well. So big shout out to Tony and Sean O'Sullivan at Highway 9 Production as well. So I mean, those guys, if you don't have that, you've got nothing. You've got to have those. You need to have that. It was actually good to go in a studio and record, but also good to record at home as well. I was able to do a bit of that dynamic, and and vocals I was able to work on as well over the last 3 years. And in between the lockdowns, I got out and gigged. You know, a lot of people didn't. You know, I was the only probably. Look, I did some streaming. I was probably the only one who really didn't take on the streaming. I did take a little bit on initially, but it's not the same. I didn't think it was the same. So as soon as we were out of the first lockdown, I tried to organise some shows, and I was in Bendigo. You know, I was playing some shows, 3 or 4 shows. I thought I'd try some new songs, my own, as well as some, classic songs, and it went down well,
Yeah, good
They
testing
kept asking me back.
format, good testing place to do, your new stuff, and that's always good to put it out there and just see how it is, how it gels, how they react, how people react, how you're going to play it. Yeah. It's always good to have that, that first gig for some new stuff,
Well, I used to busk a lot anyway on Saturdays. I used to go and busk locally at the local shops, and Studfield shops in Knox. Yeah,
oh,
so
okay.
I used to go down there, and I used to busk down there when I was a bit younger and probably a bit more adventurous, I guess, and Belgrave Images outside there, Belgrave shop, so it was good. But that's where you try your songs out. You throw your classic songs, but then you put your originals out there. It's like, wow, and you actually get $5-10 notes. Like, hang on, that song must be working.
Something's working. Yeah.
One of the songs that I tried was actually "What's the Color of Money," and it's funny enough, that's how I came up with the song, because I was busking quite frequently, and I never realised the worth or the value in music, and when you, or the value, I don't think we value ourselves enough, even in media or other careers. And I thought that's a good title, and I thought, well, I'll work on that, and that ended up being on the latest album, and it was good to include the full band version of it. I always did an acoustic version, and I did record an acoustic version for the full album, The Great Divide, but I thought, no, I'll do a full band version of it this time, and it's come up really well, and I was quite happy the way it came up. That's a 6/8 time song as well. It's different sort of timing. So that's where that song probably gave the big tick, because I used to get a really good response with that song, just acoustically.
Isn't that great? It's a great feeling inside when you get a good response from the crowd, and you think, geez, that feels good. No money can pay for that.
Yeah, I mean, even Surf Whispers. I mean, that was actually Whispers initially, the title Whispers, which was just acoustic bass. It was sort of a Spanishy sort of surf song. It was more Spanish actually, and I turned it more of a surf number and added some brass. I thought it would go really well, and it did.
You need to add brass.
I've had radio play on Triple R with that song. It's like,
really?
I never thought of it.
That's good.
Yeah, I've never thought of it on this Strange Mood show. Yeah, Strange Mood show. Thank you very much to Neil Rogers. So it's and people are saying, oh, that's a pretty cool little surf number. I said, well, it was a bit of fun. I just wanted to try something different, and it works. It works well with brass. It's slight variation of it. It's sort of progressive surf, if you like. So I did that as an instrumental, and look, there's other songs on there, Little White Lies, which I wrote during the Bricks and Mortar days, and I just didn't think the demos or the recordings we did then were good enough. I was never happy with them, so I thought I'll put it to bed and do it in this album. That's it.
So you revisit. It's good when you revisit. Sometimes I've got things that got things that I've recorded ages ago, and just the other week I was listening to things and I think, why haven't I done this?
Yeah, exactly. And I had a song called "Sail to You," which I had written years ago. And that was another song that I thought, I better complete this and just put it to bed. And it was 6/8 time, and it had 2/4 time in it as well, slightly different here and there. And I thought I'll just give it a go, and it's worked really well. We've had such a good response with that, and it's been played in the UK at the moment, and
awesome.
on Rockdown Radio, thanks to Anita Monk. It's again, networking is everything as a muso. I used to be a member of the Australian Songwriters Association growing up in the 90s. Music Managers Forum, all those sorts of things. APRA. If you're a songwriter, get on APRA. AMCOS.
I'm a member of APRA and AMCOS as well.
They're very supportive, and every song you play live, you get almost a couple of bucks these days when you play
and the
live
more you do live, the more you get, and if other people play your music as well, you get it.
Absolutely.
If your music's on some band's set list and they're playing it, they're not only getting your music out there, they're actually supporting you as well.
Well, exactly right, and it doesn't hurt for you other people to play your song.
No, not at all.
It's actually a compliment. It's actually a real compliment, And
I've played friends' songs many times, even though I'm a flamenco guitarist, but I'll play them in my way, and you know, it's different, but I'm playing their song. You know, it's
yeah,
my
exactly.
interpretation,
Yeah.
but you know,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
still playing their song, and hopefully I'm doing it justice. You know,
I mean, in between, bricks and mortar and now, I mean, I've played in quite a few outfits over my time. I've played in a ska band like Looney Tunes. That was fun. I played in an Overnight Express, which was an old time rock and roll band. Playing all that sort of stuff.
yeah, I was gonna
Uh,
actually ask you, like, from recording to busking to playing live, and you've played in so many outfits as you just mentioned, and now you've got a quite a big band now, yeah.
Yeah, look, I've got a 7/8 piece is a full band where I
Mm.
tend to bring in guests like a guest vocalist, backing vocals, sax player, another couple of brass players, generally, and I've got at the moment I've got two guitarists, which it's good to have as well because I mean I'm trying to free myself up of guitar so I can play a bit more brass and
Mm.
slowly introduce the keyboard a
Okay,
bit more because that's where I started and I want to start bringing that back in and I think it's important to sort of show what your strengths are as well. I
of
mean, my
course.
strengths are certainly, I certainly worked the vocal over my time, and I still need, it's always good to work it a little bit more
Mm.
and get a bit more out of that. In saying that, it's good. It's good to have fun with it too, and it
Of
was good
course.
to share. It's great to share the songs with others to learn as well, and they can sort of give them their sort of feel as well with the songs live.
Yeah.
And it's actually been a good time because I've been able to do that because I've had so many shows like since COVID it's opened up. I've had 85 shows, I think.
Geez,
Yeah, that I've played now,
that's good. I haven't
which
had
is
many. I haven't had that many.
which is
Probably get some pointers off you.
Well, look, like I said, networking is all
Yeah.
part of it. So I think that's essentially get online. When I was, obviously COVID, you're able to get online. Facebook was really helpful,
Yeah.
but you were able to, like, I joined the ASC, which is Australian Songwriter Circle. They're really good too, and they help you with songwriting. So I actually did the 30 days EP in 30 days. In 28 days it was, yeah, EP
Okay.
course they ran, and I think I ended up writing 20 songs.
Geez.
So I've actually got them up on SoundCloud as we speak. So check it out.
Yeah,
So I've
definitely.
got
I'm going to put some links as well on after
yeah,
the
cool,
podcast. All your links, and everyone will be able
cool.
to visit. All the links that you have, and everything from your website to
So, so
Facebook to
I'm
SoundCloud to everything.
so I'm quite active. Like I mean, I was able to do that because I was in between jobs as again,
Mm,
So it's like that seems to be my being a creative. It's sometimes people take that the wrong way, so it's always good
I completely
to
understand
move.
you.
Sometimes
There's
move, you know what I mean. You move
yeah,
with it, so you just
yeah.
got to go with it. Roll with the
There's one.
punches. You know what I
That's
mean?
right. There's
So
one common denominator, and that's music.
yes,
In amongst
exactly.
every phase of your life, it doesn't matter,
Ex-
whether you're having a
well
bad
done.
phase or a good phase. The music's there constantly. It's there all the time. You know.
Absolutely. So you play a bit too, don't you?
I do play a bit. I play flamenco guitar is my forte. But I play other
Yeah.
instruments as well. Like yourself, I was very you know as a younger kid, I was you know very into different sounds and playing different um, genres, if you like, as well. And playing. I sort of learned the keyboard through the guitar. Like the guitar was my first instrument.
Interesting. Yeah.
Learned
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
through the keyboard
Yeah.
through the guitar. Picked up the bass, which wasn't a very big transition from the guitar, but I
Mm.
learned the accordion as well.
Wow, that's a nice instrument.
Yeah, I learned the
You don't hear
accordion.
enough of that. You never hear enough
No,
accordion.
no.
Yeah.
Being of a
Yeah.
Macedonian
Cool.
background, the accordion was
Yeah.
one of the
Right.
main things, and I actually did a lot of wedding gigs with the accordion
Wow.
and the synthesizer and everything like that. But
Mm.
I
Mm.
also picked up things like the like other sort of stringed instruments like the oud, which is the Arabic sort of instrument. I also learned
Oh, right.
the
Wow.
what they called the laud, which is like it's like a mandolin, but
Yeah.
it's 6 double strings, so it's 12 string, and it's a
Okay.
Spanish sort of instrument. And you have that double.
Yep.
It's like a mandolin, but it's a bit bigger and the neck's a bit wider.
Yep.
Played that.
Okay.
I tried saxophone, tried woodwind, but I
Yep.
actually played it, but you have to spend a lot of time on it. So
Yeah, look, it's a development thing, and I
yeah.
think too, it's like trumpet tone. Like it takes it's not an overnight thing.
No,
Like,
no.
I mean, I teach kids trumpet, and I see them coming along pretty quickly. And it's like, well, I've been able to teach them probably some quicker ways of or improving their style, and it's all about your tone. Like you develop your tone over years, not just overnight. And it's like, and I mean that's probably why I got into the this biggest Elvis show that I just played in. Like I did 6 shows with the biggest Elvis show, and
Geez, that's a good gig.
Yeah, that was fantastic. Like we had 109 people on stage.
Really? I knew it was big. I didn't think it was that big.
At Hamer Hall, and
I heard about that.
And that was my 6th show with just the band. It was mainly a 30-piece band, and then it was 60-piece at Ballet Theatre. I thought that was a big show, and then they had this choir come in for this. We had 2 Crown shows before. This is before COVID. We had 2 Crown shows. We had Ballet Theatre, all that sort of stuff. So, and we did a lot of shows at Taylor's Lakes as well, on the other side of town, and with this and with Tom Jones, which was Jimmy Couples played that. And I tell you what, this last one was just massive. It was just like we broke the records, the Australian records, and
really
for the biggest stage show of Elvis, tribute to Elvis. So, and it's going to probably go into the Guinness World of Records, but it takes time to go through the whole process. But we've got it all documented, and we all got a certificate,
really.
Of it too, which is great. And then I can say, look, I've played in the biggest Elvis show ever in Australia. Like, not many people say that.
You've got that, and you've got the proof, right?
Yeah, I mean, I played trumpet in it, so it's pretty cool on your resume. So, from those sort of networking, from those sort of events, you never know what comes out of it. So that's why
you're completely right there. Networking, and it's networking with not a certain group of musicians or this or that. It's everyone. You have to network with all sorts, because you don't know who you're going to work with, you don't know who you're going to meet, and this is the reason why I've done this podcast, so I can I can get to meet these musicians, but not only that, to hopefully one day the musicians can actually start meeting themselves and connecting through the podcast, and doing as much as I can for the music industry, right? And doing as much as we possibly can to have that network and have that community,
Yeah, I think we'll talk more. I'm sure, Valentino.
Oh, definitely.
And I'll definitely interview you on Southern FM, because this is a great little segment. And I'll tell you what, the one of the things you learn, and you keep learning, is growing that base of support.
Sure.
And not just that, the whole base of fans. And when you're talking about gigs, you can go to the venues and go, oh, look at my Spotify list, and they'll go, whoa, hang on, you got lots of people listening up.
Listening.
I actually had some really big breaks lately. Like I had over 1,200 listeners or something at one point.
Really?
And
that's great.
Like I was so able to get gigs, and was able to play a lot more. And that's how I stumbled across getting gigs, because I told them, I said, look, have a look at my Spotify. I'm getting this many listeners now. And I did a whole range of regional gigs recently. I finished up. I did, played at Lucknow, played at Nuji Hotel, played at Wanjilagong, which is near Bright. Played up at Lake Tyres, which is up Lakes Entranceway. Nicholson Hotel recently as well, and more recently Narnagoon, which was just the weekend gone. So gigs aren't that hard to find. It's just a case of knowing people. But this next one I've got, actually I'm doing a small acoustic gig for a Ben Kelly at Sookie Lounge this Sunday, actually, as well. And I've got a few other gigs coming up, which is Mr. Boogeyman Bar Friday the 11th of November, and also 18th of November I've got Bronya RSL. So, and Cockatoo RSL is coming up on the 30th of October as well. So I've got all those gigs, all of a sudden coming up, and it's only because I've networked with those people, over the time. Again, it's building that, fostering that relationship, and any sales person will tell you that it's about fostering those relationships and incorporating and selling your positives.
So true. That's the
how
main
to sell a pen. How do you sell a pen? How do you sell yourself?
How do you do that? Some people don't know. I don't know.
It's taken years for me to realize that too. I undersold myself a lot as a kid. I think,
Oh, we all did.
I never realised it, and then you go, well, hang on, I'm able to get these gigs. Hang on, I'll be able to build upon that, and that's. I mean, I actually just out of COVID. We're talking about COVID during COVID or out of COVID. I actually had some military gigs as well. So I went up to
Oh,
Puckapunyal,
jeez.
did about 4 private functions, and brought the band up for the first gig and out of lockdown, and they loved it, and it was really good fun. And that's when I started to form the band again.
And it gives you
And
that, that push as well. The morale's
yeah,
up. Let's do
yeah,
this, let's do that. You've got the rapport with the venues, and you've got the rapport with
yeah.
the people, and it's like things are rolling. You're getting that momentum, and once you get that
My,
momentum,
yeah, yeah.
it,
Mind you, I was scouting and trying to find the right agents, and musoapp.com.au have been really helpful for
yeah, I'm
me.
on that as well.
And crowdpleaser.com.au, they've been really helpful
Yeah.
for private function gigs. So I had quite a few private functions pop up, and
Mm.
I had a lot of cancellations too. I mean, I had 6 organised, well, probably a dozen actually, as we went into COVID, the first one, and
Yeah,
I had to cancel it all.
I had a few concerts, and
Yeah,
they were done. They were, and
yeah.
then
Well,
the
I was looking.
morale goes
Yeah,
down with the people in the band, and it's hard to get that back up.
yeah. It was actually it was a really tough time for all musicians, not
Yeah.
just myself. I think a lot of the bigger artists. I don't know how they got on, and I mean, I spoke to someone who was more recently one of the backing singers for an artist, well-known artist, she had to go and find a job in another area of life. Like it was, yeah, it's a bit, it's a
Look,
bit disheartening, but she's getting back into it. But
yeah.
she's a fantastic artist, and I just couldn't believe it when I heard that. What?
Sometimes you just, you still you got to do what you got to do to survive, right?
Absolutely, that's it. You've got
And
to,
that's what it is.
and
But still, music is there. It's the common
absolutely,
denominator. It's still there. No one's forgotten about it. We're not forgetting about you. Music is still there. It's just
yeah.
that finding the time and finding that the, sometimes psychologically you're not in that right space, and you sometimes need a break. So
Yeah, I think too. I think of I love seeing movies, and I love going out and doing day trips and things, and and just having time out is so important too
yeah,
as an artist. And I think that's where your creative juices start to flow too
definitely,
when you have
definitely.
experiences. And like I've got like personal experiences. I mean, I've had a lot of them, but they've been great too. The last couple of years have been great as well. Like I've
Yeah,
been able to spend more time with my family. I mean, how good's that?
that's right.
I
That's
mean,
right.
I've been able to work from home, so
And that's a
it gives you a
plus.
lot of yeah,
No
and
commute, no this, no that. You got more time
exactly.
to do other things like music.
Yeah, and I mean, I taught myself Canva. I mean,
Yeah,
as
I
well,
think
so
we
I'm
all
able to
did.
do my own art designs and things like
Yeah,
that,
yeah, yeah.
and learn to draw a little bit more and just try different things, as well, like grow some veggies and all that sort of stuff. So I got in the garden. So
Yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, those
same.
things are yeah, just getting, just trying different things. I mean, I'm great with. I love playing with wood, so I make all sorts of things out of wood. So I made my
Mate, we've got
gates.
a lot of
I made,
similarities, mate.
yeah, that's good
I
fun.
started making tables and stuff out of wood and resin and stuff like that. It was,
That's it.
you
That's
know.
it.
But I think
But
it's
I
the
mean,
creativeness in our
I think it
blood, in our
is. Yeah.
genes,
And I think too, being a tech, I've always been a tech on the road, so electronics, and I like the whole tech thing.
Yeah.
It's funny because I built my own little radio station when I was about 12 or 11 or something for
Okay. Yeah,
Tandy
the
kit.
Tandy kits.
Yeah, I actually I think I transmitted to the neighbourhood and
Oh,
used to get
really?
people used to get my friends to ring me. Oh, can you hear me? Yeah, no worries. And so used to play some radio, some music on there, and
Oh,
it
that's
was a bit of fun.
awesome.
I was pretty young, so it was
Yeah.
good fun. I probably would have got in trouble if it was ACCC these days, but anyway. But I was young, so you get away with it. You
Yeah,
get
of
away with
course.
anything
Of course.
when
It's
you're
like
young.
the
So
CB radios at the time, you go in and you listen to what's going on, and then, yeah, you do all
yeah,
those things. But the other thing I wanted to ask you, Southern
yeah,
FM, right?
yeah. Southern FM,
You're
that's been great.
you're a presenter there, right?
Yeah, well, actually, I got my first radio debut was actually Eastern Radio, which is back 98.1, which was back in
98.1 Eastern Radio.
1986, believe it
Yeah,
or not.
yeah.
That's when I was
I
first on
remember. I
radio.
remember them. Yeah.
And they're still around,
Yeah.
98.1 Radio Eastern. And I told Murray Smith that actually on the Sunday after morning show, Australian Made Show. It's a fantastic show. And that's where I started. I mean, that's where my first demo, Great Divide, was played. So it's pretty cool. And then I actually later on, obviously, a few years gone past, and then I released my first EP. And I thought, okay, a few years after, I think it might have been 1 year after, I thought, hang on, people should get behind community radio, because I realised, community radio is everything for us, develop. And I started up my radio show on 3WBC on Box Hill Radio, 94.1, and they really were very supportive of me straight away. Paul Hooper and Vian and the crew there was so supportive of me taking on a radio show. And I actually did a Sunday afternoon show, which was all about travelling. So I used to talk about areas of travel, and used to play tracks from areas of Victoria, like Hillsville, or
okay,
there's some tracks that I'd pick out from suburbs or wherever, and Frankston, and all that sorts of stuff.
Frankston.
So but it was lots of and Eastern Victoria. There's lots of, and there's actually a lot of local artists that actually sang about that, and they weren't getting exposed, so it was good to do that. And I actually thought, there's not much brass being played either, so I ended up putting a lot of brass stuff on, and Hunters, and playing a lot of the local Cat Empire, a lot of the local artists. So I thought I'll start up. So I thought, no, I'm not really getting anywhere with this show, and it was an Australian made show that I was involved in, really good. But I thought, I'm just not. I don't know. It just wasn't probably the time, and I thought I'll move on. And so I went to Southern FM, and they have been so supportive with my Brass Holes in Indie show. It's just insane. So I've been doing that. I actually did it, programming it from home during COVID. That's what got it, because I actually got out of radio for a while and then got back into it. So
what's the show called?
It's called Brass Holes in Indie show.
Okay,
it's on every Wednesday night between 10 p.m. and midnight. So tune in, 88.3. It's also on southernfm.com.au. So you tune in every Wednesday night. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Look, Mark, it was great to having a chat with you, and we're going to do this again, definitely.
You too.
Later on. It was really good to get an insight into your journey and your especially your songwriting. I found it very, very interesting. Very very, very pure. Like based on your experiences. And it was great to have you on. It's great to have you part of the podcast, of the A Chord Podcast.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate your support, and big thank you to Valentino for including me. And look, songs take you on a good adventure, and just keep writing them. I think that's the secret. But thank you very much. Look out for the United We Stand, the new album. It features Happy Song, which is getting lots of local radio play.
Fantastic.
Here and abroad, as well as, there's Walk On By as well on there, featured on there. And there's quite a few new singles coming up. No Ordinary Girls coming out very soon, the end of October. And also next month, there'll be another single, Start Making Sense, which will be a really... it's a sort of another step into the realm of probably Chicago sort of punk, if you like. I know it's a cross between, and I'm getting good responses from those songs. Fantastic. As well as there's Surf Whispers, which will be out over the summer as well. Awesome. The instrumental, so you can catch that wave.
Fantastic. Look, it was absolute pleasure, Mark, and wishing you all the very best, mate.
Thank you. You too.
No worries. Thanks once again.
Great. Thank you.
Your hands in your pants and you don't know where you are. You spin around, sing and shout, and shake up the dance floor. You look young, so refined, so starry-eyed. There's toast who knows what to do and where to move. And she says, you know what I wear every night and day. It's jeans, it's corduroys at the trouser party. You know what I see. To the trouser party. There's celebration at the station, and I hope you don't leave too soon. There's alchemy, toxic bloom, and the latest accessory. Flash booming, global warming, the trouser party. You look around, mix a drink as you walk past the dance floor. And you wave and you craze out on the last crusade. You start dancing, start romancing. Watch out, cause she says, you know what I wear every night and day. It's jeans, it's corduroys at the trouser party. You know what I see every night and day. It's jeans, it's corduroys at the trouser party. You know what I wear every night and day. It's jeans, it's corduroys at the trouser party. You know what I see every night and day. It's jeans, it's corduroys. So come on over to the trouser party.
Hope you enjoyed the Strike a Chord podcast. Be sure to visit valentinoflamenco.com to access more podcast episodes, news, and other projects that I'm currently working on. Thanks for listening and watching.